The Syrian people, the Muslims in Syria in particular, have never lost their momentum, their strength, their power, and their will. I think the American policymakers have come to the conclusion that the people in Syria are in their weakest status as people. Internally, their psychology had to be crushed one way or another, and that's what they have done throughout the 13 years of the revolution which was going against Assad.
This regime, as you mentioned, was incredibly brutal. The torture chambers, the prisons was absolutely horrific. So they definitely tried to crush the spirit of the Syrian people. But just seeing a post-Bashar Syria, should we see it as being a victory? And how should we see it in light of what you mentioned before about the construction of a new Middle East? Does this fit in with that plan? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Welcome to the Narrative House podcast. I'm your host Ryan. Today we are joined by a very distinguished guest. He is an international speaker, academic and author. He is none other than our beloved brother, Dr. Muhammad Jilani. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother, and thank you very much for having me one more time on this podcast.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much for taking the time to be with us today to talk about some very important issues. In the last podcast that we did, you quoted Henry Kissinger, and you mentioned one of the observations that he had, which was that in the construction, or the main obstacle behind the construction of a new Middle East, was the Syrian people, and that they had not been sufficiently colonized. Now, in light of what's been happening, because we recorded the podcast before the ousting of the Assad regime, in light of what's been happening now, how do we understand what Kissinger said in the 1970s, that the main obstacle to the new Middle East was the Syrian people and not necessarily the regime?
Yes. Well, yes, indeed. Henry Kissinger, after the 1973 Ramadan war between Syria, Egypt on one side and the Jewish state on the other side, he tried to understand the dynamics of this war and what's after. Was hoping that he can draw a roadmap for peace in the Middle East and the stability of a new Middle East, if you will, which eventually culminated in the peace treaty between Egypt and the state of the Jewish state in Palestine, which is called Israel. But for some reason, nothing happened on the Syrian side. Why? According to Kissinger, that the problem does not lie with the Syrian regime of Assad, but with the Syrian people themselves. That the people in Syria have not been subjugated sufficiently to colonialism, and they still have continued to have their zeal and their integrity and their self-confidence, which they carried out throughout 1300 years since the Islamic State came up into Damascus, and Damascus became the second capital state for the Islamic State. And the Syrian people have never lost their momentum, their strength, their power, and their will. So they will never accept a foreign state like a Jewish state in Palestine, in the neighborhood of Syria, at any point. So this problem constitutes an obstacle, besides, of course, the other obstacle that the state of Israel, or the Jewish state, needs to be expanded, needs to have a depth, because it was not sufficiently deep, and that's why the America tried to stop the war and finish the war without achieving the objective of some of the Arab countries to force Israel to leave Palestine or to leave the Golan Heights. Now, Sinai, of course, later on was compromised between Egypt and the Jewish state, so that Egypt will get out of the war and the conflict. But the Syrian people were a problem. So now, if we jump from the 73, 74 time frame to 2024, that's about 50 years. After 50 years, uh, I think the American policymakers have come to the conclusion that now the people in Syria are in their weakest status as people in terms of being able to resist on the international politics or on the regional politics. They have been subjugated to all types of atrocities. They have been evicted out of their homes, out of the country in general. So the Syrian people have been subjugated sufficiently to all types of atrocities that we have seen after the outing of the Bashar Assad's what had been happening. So to them now, at least what the American thinks and what we see on the ground, that the new status in Syria is willing to live in the world with the current status of the world and the Middle East as is, without the momentum or the zeal or even the will to go out and do something outside the borders of Syria. Now, it's not here to blame them or to accuse or not to accuse, but this is the reality. That's what Kissinger talked about, and I believe that when Kissinger makes a statement like that, it means that the Syrian people must be crushed. Not talking about the regime. They supported the regime for 50 years. But then the people, the Syrian people, the Muslims in Syria in particular, their internally, their psychology had to be crushed one way or another. And that's what they have done throughout the 13 years of the revolution which was going against Assad.
Yeah, and I think that was clear when during the reign of Hafiz al-Assad and his son Bashar, we saw, persecution on levels that we hadn't seen actually, and just seeing a post-Bashar Syria, the prisons, the torture, the torture chambers, the prisons was absolutely horrific. So they definitely tried. They definitely tried to crush the spirit of the Syrian people. But I guess a lot of people are observing now in what's happening in Syria as a victory of sorts. This regime, as you mentioned, was incredibly brutal. It was, persecuting the local population. Um, is this how we should see this new phase? Should we see it as being a victory? And how should we see it in light of what you mentioned before about the construction of a new Middle East? Does this fit in with that plan?
Well, yes, it is. Well, the construction of a new Middle East, it has been, at some point, it was just analysis. We used to analyze that. We talked about that on many podcasts. And during the podcast we have done with yourself, your good self, a few weeks ago, we talked clearly about the new Middle East, and this is the plan. And we talked about the even in writing at Brookings Institute, the U.S. talked about a new Middle East, even with a new Security Council in the Middle East that will govern the overall Middle East, where Iran, Turkey, and the Jewish state in Palestine called Israel will be also part of that. That's no longer analysis. These are facts on the ground. We have seen people like Netanyahu, like Sisi, like the King of Jordan, like the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. All of them are iterating this word, the new Middle East, stability in Middle East, self-stability in the Middle East, all of these talks. So this is no longer analysis. This is facts on the ground. And we believe that the United States and its ally Israel in the area, they utilized the war in Gaza and in Palestine to its fullest extent in order to push for this new Middle East. And we have seen talks that America had promised the state of Israel that after the final peace and settlement, after this episode of war, we will have normalization with all countries, without exception, all countries without exception in the area, and that has already started in the Gulf, in Emirates, in Bahrain, in Oman, also in Morocco, and there are lots of talks in Saudi Arabia. And now the talk that even comes from Syria, the one that was the most serious obstacle, the rhetoric that's coming out. I hope this rhetoric is only temporary and not for real, but the current rhetoric coming from Damascus is that we are willing to live with all countries without exception, regionally and internationally. And that is what the new Middle East stability means for America. Plus, we are now seeing some discussions here and there about the potential breakdown of Syria into multiple territories or tiny states. There have been lots of talks on that. We hope and pray that this will not happen, but that's part of their plan if they can manage it. So the new Middle East in the making, or the making of a new Middle East, is currently going on. And physically, the starting point was the war that began in October in 2023, where the both America and its ally Israel wanted to make use of that make use of igniting that war to the fullest extent, where they can build their new Middle East with the new Security Council. And again, I will reiterate the members of the Security Council, which will be established, given that America makes it, can get it the way it wants, which is Iran, Turkey, Israel, and possibly Saudi Arabia. There is the name of Saudi Arabia is mentioned here and there, especially for ability to finance the tasks and the work of the new Security Council.
You were mentioning earlier about the new or the interim government in Syria at the moment, and you were mentioning that they are being very accommodating. A lot of concessions, in fact, have been given. Now, some observers would say that after all those decades of persecution under the Alawite Ba'athist regime, a more pragmatic approach is warranted, and it's understandable in the context of what they've been suffering for the past decades, to want to sort of play it safe in a way, right? To keep
Sure.
The West and all its and its regional the regional powers and neighbors on good terms. Okay, so what do you say about that?
Well, when I mentioned this, I did not mention that in a term of approving or denouncing. No, I just stated that as a fact. That's what's happening now. Do these people in Damascus now, those who are in the leadership, are they just playing it with time? So until they become stronger, then they come back to their reality, or is this their final views? That's now to be seen. Of course, as I said, we hope and pray that this will not be final. This will not be the real case of the Syrian people. America believes that zeal within the Syrian people that formed an obstacle against an obstacle to the building of a new Middle East. They think this has been resolved. Again, one more time, I say, well, they would never know what goes inside the people after the fact that what we have seen in Gaza, after more than 70 years of occupation, we have seen the internal power of the people coming up one more time. So they cannot count and rely that, we have pushed the people of Syria outside their borders. We made them refugees all over. We made them beg bread at the doors of Europeans, or being treated with discrimination in Turkey for a while, or they have been living in camps and tents for almost 13 years. So that means they must have lost their internal integrity. I believe no. That's what they think. But I'm pretty sure that there is yet a power in every heart of a Muslim, no matter how much you can crush. As Ernest Hemingway once said, you can destroy a man, but you cannot destroy his internal attitude and ability to stand up. So yes, they can destroy a nation, but they cannot take its will out of their brains. Hopefully that will prevail at some point.
Inshallah, inshallah. Now, with regards to Syria, like you mentioned that this is pretty much part and parcel of this new Middle Eastern architecture that is being sought out by the US. Now, in the coming weeks and in the coming months, obviously with the new Syrian, with the interim government that we're seeing in power now in Damascus, already we've seen, for example, American diplomats, politicians, even prior, I think prior to the actual ousting of Assad from Damascus, you had CNN reporters on the ground in Damascus, reporting on what's happening. And obviously the presence of Western media, the presence of American diplomats in Bilad al-Sham, in Syria in particular, what does this tell us about what America seeks to do in this new phase? Because obviously, even when Assad was in power, we know that behind the scenes, there was collusion between the Assad regime, although he was projecting to be an anti Western imperialist. But we know that behind the scenes that people were sent from other Muslim countries to Syria for torture at the behest of America. So what is the US seeking to do, or what will it seek to do in this next phase?
Well, as I said, America believes that their first or one of the priorities had been solved. Priorities for building a new Middle East. One of these priorities had been solved. Syria, through 13 years of torture, the regime of Assad was able to kill, imprison, torture millions of the people, and then at the end of this big nightmare, or not even night and daymare, all this throughout the whole 13 years. After that, the America believes that now the Syria as a country in the Middle East, with the current situations after all this torture, is ready to be plugged in the map, the new roadmap, if you will, the map that they talked about it from the Reagan time, the Bush time, Obama, etc. Everybody gave it some name: roadmap, deal of the century, Reagan principles. So America believes that it's time to utilize this or to benefit from this situation and go ahead without losing any minute. That's why we have seen that America itself came to Damascus through the assistant to the foreign to the Secretary of State with the delegation. Then we have seen all the European countries, or most of them, if not all, they are marching into Damascus and coming out with some positive impressions, which means they want to make sure that what we are planning for the next phase, which is self-stability of the Middle East, no more conflicts, the state of Jewish state in Israel and Palestine is completely accepted by all the regimes without an exception. Today, Yesterday it was, let's say, Jordan, Emirat, etc. And then before that it was Egypt. Now they are hoping that within the next few months, maybe right after the stopping the war in Gaza, there would be talks will come out on the Syrian position on the new state, uh, and they want to take advantage of the regime before it can breathe, live alone live. Now it's trying to breathe under all types of conditions with lack of funds, lack of money, lack of infrastructure, lack of an army, lack of almost everything. So it's dependent, completely dependent. It serves two purposes. One purpose, it is justifiable in front of the people around them. Justifiable. Look, we can do nothing about the situation. We have had it over the last 13 years. Let's breathe. Let's have a life. Now let's build, which is understandable. That this is what they would say on the American and the Western side. Okay, let's make use of this moment before it slips away from our hands. Now to seize the moment, to seize this moment, something must happen, which is in Palestine. This has to be over, the war there, and the final settlement on what is the future of Palestine is going to be. They will have to settle that, and then they will immediately move to seize the moment. Although I think today probably the Americans would not even wait until the overall situation in Palestine is settled. They will seize the moment while Syria is absolutely weak. It's in desperate situation, and as we see, even anyone who has any type of hopes on a strong Syria today is holding their horses. Hold your horses. We are still trying to stand up on our feet. While they are not on their feet, they would probably take advantage of that.
So, you were mentioning that, America um, is at the moment it's trying to wait to seize the moment. You were saying that America is wanting to seize the moment. What does that look like? What does America seizing the moment look like in Syria?
Seizing the moment, it will look like that. Quickly build the government, structure the government, help it stand up on its feet. But before it can be completely stabilized, uh, bring up the issue of the recognition of the occupying state in Palestine called Israel, just like the treaty between Jordan, Egypt, and the other countries with Israel. Most likely they will push this and seize the moment. In fact, this was already spoken about by the assistant to the Secretary of State in America and some other top officials, that we are looking forward for including Syria in the peace process. And what we have seen from the top leaders, the current leaders in Syria, there is some type of potentials for that. These are their statements. So that's what I would think the seizing the moment would be before Syria gets again, it breathes, stand up on its feet, and start building the country in a certain manner. They would like to utilize this status of weakness. Uh, Status of weakness. Uh, Note that the parade of foreign delegations or delegates coming into Syria, that is not because these people loved Syria. These people have been absolutely silent, and they helped, and they did nothing against Bashar when he actually was torturing these people, killing their families. They were absolutely silent, not even silent. You remember the Obama administration in the United Nations and in the Security Council, they protected Bashar when he used the chemical weapons against the people. And the best thing he could say that we are warning Bashar not to use chemical weapons again, as if the first time, let's say the first time you use a nuclear power, you nuke a million people, it's okay, but the second time is prohibited. So that's how they protected him. So now all of them are running into Syria, say, okay, you have had it, you have been sufficiently tortured, let's help you, but help us make peace in the Middle East. Help us stabilize the Middle East. Work with us. And today, I don't think anyone in the current leadership of Syria has the capability or the guts or the will to stand up and say, no, we will not do that. It doesn't mean they believe in it or they accept it, but this is a status quo. That's the status quo of these.
But what makes the US government so confident that it can reshape Syria, interfere in its affairs when, as you mentioned before, in the 70s, when Kissinger said that, the Syrian, the issue with Syria is not the regime itself, it is the people itself, right? So even after all of this, what makes them so optimistic that they can change things to a point where it suits their foreign policy agenda?
I think,
Like, what makes it? What's the difference this time?
I think the America relies on many factors. Now, the first one, they rely on Turkey, and Turkey is one of the largest states in the area that has full diplomatic relations with the Jewish state, and Turkey was trying to broker a peace treaty, a final peace treaty between Assad and Israel in maybe before actually this current revolution that started before the last 13 years. Turkey was in charge, but then I would assume or think that somebody actually pushed in the ears and the brain of Turkey that look, this is not the right time, because Bashar, even if he accepts, and he does accept the state of Israel and all of the news that has come out after this takeover Damascus, it shows the collaboration between Bashar and the state of Israel. So he has no problem with that. But the problem continued to be at that time is, even if Bashar takes it, it doesn't mean that the Syrian people will accept it, and eventually they will revolt against it. So now that Turkey got involved very much into this whole issue of the revolution in Syria and in the support of the revolutionary people while they were in Idlib, and they supported them taking over Damascus and reaching there, and it's not secret that Turkey has a major role, that played a major role in this whole episode. And of course, Turkey coordinates with the United States. Turkey is not an alien state for the US. So this is number one. Number two, the America worked very hard to get Iran out of being involved directly in the affairs in Lebanon and then in Syria, and eventually they will do that in both Iraq and Yemen. So Iran remains an external state, but a stabilizing, if you will, state, and neutralizing with the nuclear power of Israel. That's its major role will be. So what makes me think that America is confident that this is the right time, because they have seen enough and sufficient from the top leaders of the revolution since the last 3 years, almost 2 to 3 years, since the creation of a new, or bringing all the factions, the warring factions, under one umbrella, and agree on common grounds And those common grounds between some absolutely strong Islamic groups, nationalist groups, old Baathist groups, split out from the government groups. They were all types of. Then they were able to bring them under one umbrella. That umbrella lasted for almost 3 years. Someone in the US or in Turkey has seen that this is working out well. So now let's try it. Let's see what happens. And as soon as we got in Damascus, uh, uh, America and all its allies, they came just to check and see if we are still, as people as who are behind the revolution, we are still committed to the new settlement in the Middle East. And they have come out with positive impressions until now. Until now. Now, would that fail? Would it be possible? Of course, it can. Eventually, we are talking about people. We are talking about Muslims. We are talking about people who have uh, internal momentum and power that they can re-energize one more time. But that remains to be seen. We hope that this will happen. But until now, until this moment that we are speaking, all indications say that we are all going in the boat that America would like to see it. Looking for some democratic state, looking for some peace with all neighbors, with all nations, Arabs, other nations. These, they are general statements. Well, some of them were actually very explicit. When some journalists asked the question about how about Israel, and the answer usually came, we are willing to live in peace with everybody around. Now, not naming the state of Israel, but until now, America is confident that they have achieved or they have removed the biggest obstacle against, or the biggest obstacle that stands in the path of a new Middle East. That is the zeal of the Syrian people. America believes they have done it.
I think, Doctor, you probably saw in the immediate aftermath after the ousting of the Assad regime, there was celebrations on the streets of not only Damascus but in the whole of Syria and in the entire world, in fact. And so, you know, for Muslims, I know, I saw images from Sydney, Australia, in America, Muslims in America, Muslims in the West, Muslims in other parts of the Muslim world. They were all celebrating the downfall of the Assad regime. And there was a sense of hope, in fact, in the air, that there was light at the end of the tunnel, that tyranny doesn't pay, and that تلك الأيام نداولها بين الناس, that these are days in which power is exchanged between people, and that as you've said on many occasions, oppression doesn't pay. Now what you're mentioning, it sort of bleakens, or it makes or paints a very bleak picture in terms of the optimism that's felt in the ummah generally. Um, you know, obviously, there's the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he states that the Muslim never gets bitten by the same hole twice. And what we're seeing now is, again, we know about the history of Western hegemony in the region and how it seeks to exert that hegemony in the Muslim world in order to fulfill its own foreign policy interests, in order to secure resources, as you mentioned in the previous podcast. Is there still hope? Is there still hope for the Muslim Ummah and the Syrians in particular for the future? Like, is there something that we can look forward to in the region?
Well, definitely there is. Definitely there is. Number one, the collapse and the fall of the Assad regime, that is something that can never be undermined or understated. It is it's an absolute celebration event to celebrate and to thank Allah Azza wa Jal for. There is no question about that. So tyranny doesn't pay, oppression doesn't pay. Allah Azza wa Jal would never leave a tyrant in place for forever. And that's the ayah you mentioned. And also there is another ayah in Surah Al-Fajr where he talks about the old tyrannical powers like Ad, Thamud, Fir'aun, and then Allah says we will be watching for any tyrant to bring them down. So that's one. But then to the building of the post-tyranny, that's yet another phase. So phase one, there is a phase. Phase one, you have to get rid of the tyrant. Phase two, you have to build a stable entity that either complies with what Allah Azza wa Jal, the one who enabled you to remove the tyrant, and his systems, revealed systems. That is yet to be seen. That's a burden. So the path in this life with the life of Muslims in general, path number one, the first phase of the path is to be able to get rid of the tyrants like Gaddafi, like Saddam Hussein, like Hosni Mubarak, and today like Bashar Assad. These are all tyrants. We got Allah Azza wa Jalla enabled the people to get rid of them with sacrifices. Now the building of a system that is in line with what Allah Azza wa Jalla had revealed, that's yet another phase. So you cannot claim that the fact that we did this, that means we will do the second one. That needs a struggle, that needs a momentum, that needs a power, that needs a full pledge to Allah Azza wa Jal and to his system. So what we are talking today, and what we have been talking to the people in Syria, especially the ones who were able to reach Damascus with victory, look, it's not time yet to let your horses go and eat some grasses. There is yet another phase, and this phase is could be much more serious than the first one. The first one to get rid of the tyrant. The second one is to face the tyranny of the entire world. You remember that Blinken, his first expression when the revolutionary people were approaching Damascus, that we have to make sure that this move will not lead to the creation of a caliphate or a khilafah state. So that's on their radar screen. So my point here is, yes, you can topple down a regime as the Muslims did in Libya and in Egypt, but then what is it that you constructed after? What had happened? What could happen? So we have to be careful, but we cannot lose hope. We cannot lose hope, because at the end of the day, the one who is behind the removal of a tyrant from the pure universal or beyond universe, which is Allah Azza wa Jal, we know that Allah does not allow tyranny to be sustained and to prevail, but does not automatically say that who comes after that is to be accepted by default. You have to prove that you are on the side of Allah Azza wa Jal. We hope our brothers in Syria and Sham, they will be. We hope that they will recover very soon from the aftermath of all the tyranny and what have happened, and so that now they go to build not only the blocks on the around the houses around the block, but to build the laws around the block and the system around the block, the economic system of Islam, the justice system of Islam, the political system of Islam, and to bring to the forefront the importance and significance and the necessity and the absolute obligation of using the laws revealed by Allah Azza wa Jal to build Syria. The issue of building Syria.
Okay, I think
Go ahead.
Go on, Doctor.
Yeah,
You can finish your
the
sentence.
issue of today building Syria from material perspective is a must. There is no question about that. But then alongside or in the plan within this building blocks, one of these blocks must be the reconstruction of the power of Islam in Sham, to reconstruct that. We are in the
And I think,
I accept we are in a construction phase, but this has to be part of the blocks to be
yeah,
built.
yeah, and I think that's a very important observation. I think many people had it in their minds that the Syrian uprising was a bit more special than the rest in the sense that when we were looking at the calls that were being made, it was a very sort of it wasn't a call for like a free and democratic state. It wasn't a call for just pure anti-imperialism. It wasn't a call for just an ousting of a regime. There was a real genuine Islamic sentiment to that call, and it persisted for so long. And so that is probably I think one of the main reasons why that's a cause for optimism for us anyway, is that the Syrian people have always called for Islam. Also, as well, like there are many ahadith that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned about the fadl of the people of Asham, Uqar al-Dar al-Islami bisham. Many ahadith, describing the merits of the people of Asham, and as you described previously as well, that it's near to impossible to crush the spirit of the people because it's well grounded in Islam, and we hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala aids them and supports them um, in this. Before we move on, Doctor, is there any final thoughts or final ideas that you wanted to impart upon our audience regarding this new Middle East project?
Yes. Number one, I want to say that look, political analysis is something, but whatever Allah Azza wa Jal wants is something else, or could be the same, but could be something else. It doesn't necessarily map. So the fact that things sometimes do not go the way we want, it doesn't mean that this is the end of things. That's number one. Number two, uh, I think it's too early to make any judgment about where Syria is going, because the people who fought 13 years for a certain objective, I don't think they can be isolated easily. If they are, then their momentum will continue to exist. Number three, uh, today, the people around Syria, not necessarily in Syria, like in Lebanon, in Jordan, in Iraq, and other places, they have lots of hopes to see that coming from Syria there is some glimpse of hope that tyranny will be replaced by the laws of the one who removed the tyrant, which is the laws of Islam. So there's lots of pressure going on. We hope and pray that our brothers in Syria from the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham and the other groups in the area, they will understand that uh, their future can be can be can flourish only under Islam. They will not have a future that will flourish under anything but Islam. And we are not talking about material aspects alone. We are talking about material, spiritual, religious, ideological, because you have to flourish at all levels. Finally, uh, I think that we should support the rebuilding of Syria economically, technologically, by with our own people as much as we can. We need to put as much as possible, as much help as possible to make sure that at least we, the Muslims, we, the ones who have what it takes politically, ideologically, even technically, technologically, we have the know how to contribute as much as possible so that we don't allow a vacuum in the area for America. And of course, eventually behind America or within America, there is the Israelis who would like to creep in at any point of time. We have to make sure that we can provide the ultimate support so our brothers in Syria will not fall in the laps of the fox or the American tiger. We should not push them. We should not help in the sense that they will move into the American hemisphere easily. We have to make sure that this does not happen. The most important thing I would say, look, when things really don't look very bright or very open for final success, that is when the victory of Allah Azza wa Jal comes. There is an ayah in the Quran I like always to quote that Allah says, حتى إذا استيأس الرسل وظنوا أنهم قد كذبوا جاءهم نصرنا. At the time when the prophets, the messengers, or the people who carry the da'wah, like them, when they reach a point where they don't see any glimpse of hope, absolutely all things are blocked, and they continue to stay in the struggle, that's when the victory of Allah Azza wa Jal comes to them. When they reach that level of not seeing any possibility, things are being blocked. The things that you think of, like the Arab Spring. Many people thought, okay, that's it. We have tyrants are dropping one after another. First Zayn al-Abidin bin Ali, then Mubarak, then Qaddafi, then Ali Abdullah Saleh. Wow, it's great. We have seen that. So the ambitions, now it is much more easier to go and get the state you want. It didn't happen that way because because that glimpse of hope, that glimpse, once it fades away, then the victory of Allah Azza wa Jal is bestowed upon the people. That's to make sure that people will understand that it is not the revolution that did it, it is not the Arab Spring that did it, it's not the power of the following party that did it, it is the power of Allah Azza wa Jal. When all things, all roads get blocked, Allah Azza wa Jal will open a road that you were not able to open. This is how Allah Azza wa Jal, His Sunnah in the world happens. This is especially true for decisive victories. That's not common for all types of struggles. In fact, at the time of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this was seen twice. This decisive, which means Allah Azza wa Jal gets His angels, His ultimate power involved in the war. Number one, for the migration from Mecca to Medina to build that initial state, and the second one was Badr, which was absolutely decisive. Very weak people and incapable of making victory, but it did. Whereas Battle of Uhud and Battle of Hunain, the Muslims, they thought of themselves that we are at the level now we can rely on our own power. They could not get it. They could not make it. Or at least Allah Azza wa Jal allowed the dynamics of wars to take place as they are. He did not force His power to be involved in these battles. Okay, you can now fight on your own with your power. If you think you can do that, I will hold up my support. So that support will never be held back by Allah Azza wa Jal once it is a decisive victory that needs to be there. And that decisive victory means it is a time when you do not think you can make it. when you don't have any hope that you can make it, but you still in the struggle, that's when the final when the real victory, which we are expecting, will come, and it will come inshallah, as long as we are
Inshallah.
on the road.
Allah, barakallah fikum. Um, now, I wanted to ask you as well, like, obviously the US has its hands. It's like an octopus that's got its tentacles in different parts of the world and different regions. So at the moment, we're finding them, yes, they are focusing a lot on the Middle East, what is happening, and them trying to fund, like I just read recently, that just before Biden had exited the administration, he had passed a bill to allow $8 billion of US funds to support, the Zionist entities' military escapades. But as well, like we see in the East, in the Far East, with China, um, America is also not waging a war per se, but there's also been a lot of chatter about the the competition, the economic competition that China poses for in the future, and the policies that are now um, being passed in order to counter some of that. And one of the things, I guess, that came out of COVID-19, and this is us shifting focus a little bit, that came out of COVID-19 was the shortage or the issue of the supply chain with regards to semiconductors, um, in the tech industry, and how that halted the production of things like cars and that sort of thing. So my next question to you, Doctor, is um, this, what is this chip war that they're talking about? And why is it central for us to understand in terms of global politics?
Well, uh, look, let me begin with this. There was a time when the United States found itself, after the collapse of Soviet Union, in desperate need for a world-wide player, someone who can play a role at the global level. And at the time of the collapse of the Soviet Union, there was none. Physically, there was none. Europe had been subjugated very much by the US power through NATO, through the previous Marshall Plan, and had not completed yet their EU type of structure. Russia, of course, the inheritor of the Soviet Union, was not at the level. China was very big country like India, but it was not developed, highly developed. So America found itself that uh, it has to sustain and maintain a global world order, alone by itself, which is very expensive and very dangerous and very risky. It has to face the world by itself. So America turned to China. They thought that we can build China. In fact, there was an article in New York Times back in 1997 talking about if America wants China to be a global player, then America must build China, must help China move into a global level country. So from that time on, many of the industries started moving toward China. America helped China or forced China somehow to revitalize their economic system so that it becomes a hybrid economic system, both socialism and capitalism. In front end of the system is capitalism, where you have stock markets and investments. On the back end, there is socialism as before. So this was a reform that took place. Then America accepted China in the World Trade Organization, which had been denied for a while, for a long time. So they helped actually with the semiconductor technology and technology built above that, like telecommunication system. They helped Huawei gain the best technology in telecom through companies like Motorola, like Lucent, who pushed their devices, their technology into China. And anyway, so from that time until 2016, 2017, where we know China had become a very strong economic power, and also it had some military because of the Indochina Sea, like the with Taiwan and Korea. So they had also some military power. And the United States started talking about how powerful the military of China. In other words, China has become at the level where it can be a partner enemy rather than a partner friend, partner enemy in this global war. And Brzezinski talked about this very clearly, that America today cannot lead the world or oppress the world or hegemonize the world alone by itself. It needs an enemy, a friendly enemy, if you will, an enemy that we play together rather than fight together. So America thought China would do it. During the Trump administration, Trump tried to bring China to the game, to the board game. China refused. China said, we will do trading only. We will not play politics. We are not willing to play politics. Now, Trump comes again. He either will do one of two things. That was our expectation. Either try one more time to bring China to the world arena, so it becomes the counterpartner to America, or punish China for letting Trump down in the first term. And my own expectation, it will be the second. It will not be the first. Punish China means try to put lots of obstacles, tariffs, fight China with the semiconductors, with the patents, copywriting, and we know that China had never complied with any patents or copyrights. So that is a reason. That's a reason for going against China full scale, and that part is going to be a hot part. Now, how China would respond? In my opinion, China would try to diffuse all of these type of pressures from America as much as it can, but it will never go to confrontation. It will never go to confrontation for real or for fake. So we will see how America will behave with this type of mentality, Chinese mentality.
So, Doctor, can you explain to us how semiconductors became a key driver of technological innovation and economic power? Like, it feels like talk about semiconductors suddenly came maybe in the past 5 years, especially post COVID-19.
Well, look, no, semiconductor had become part of the technological innovation a few decades ago. Remember, there was a time when Japan was one of the major forces and entities that drive semiconductors, and that continued probably until the mid 80s, when United States felt that Japan is selling semiconductor chips, especially memory and chips that can go into processors at very low price, cheap price. And that impacted top companies like Texas Instrument, like Intel, like other ones. So they imposed some tariffs on Japan, and Japan did not want to fight the issue. So they almost dropped out of the technology, and they complied with all the conditions that America had. So America knew that semiconductor is a very critical backbone of the next phase of industrialization, whether it's in automation, whether it's in achieving new levels of productivity, in whether it's in machine industry like cars, vehicles, airplanes, defense, until we have become that each and every piece, industrial piece that's moving or making something on the ground, it must have some semiconductor chip. Today, these chips can be at the nanoscale level, which is the very almost invisible. You can put hundreds of millions of gates, we call them electronic gates, on a small, tiny little chip. So it has become very powerful. And anyone who possesses that industry, or who can not only make the chips, but make the machines that are able to print, we say that to print the chip, to print the semiconductor, especially the nanoscale. Nanoscale means it's per the centimeter, 1 centimeter, let's say at the level of 100 million, is it?
Very small. It
Very
means like
small.
it's tiny.
Yeah, million. No,
Yeah.
it's actually it's 1,000 million. It's 1 billion. It's one
Yeah.
billionth of 10 to the power 9. It's 1 billionth of a unit of a centimeter. That is as much as how tiny you can go, how low level. Now, China for a while continued to get its chips from American sponsored companies, supported companies in Taiwan, for example, or they would buy the equipment that prints these chips from Western countries which are allied with the United States. Now, when China started going into building the machines that make the chips, which means the real industry behind that, that is a critical point. United States will try to make whatever it takes to prevent the growth of Chinese semiconductor technology, not to prevent it from having it. China has that, but there is the extra step in the technology, which is the nanoscale, or next time it will be the picoscale, which is almost 1,000
Even
smaller.
smaller.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
the but those wars, call them the technology wars or the trade wars, these are the outskirts. That's what let's put pressure on China in this field. Maybe we can achieve some political settlements. Until today, America would
You know,
like to have. Until
sorry.
today, America would love to see China at the global level playing political macho or political power that competes with the United States on the surface, but has some agreements or understanding below the surface. They would love to.
I watched a report. Sorry, Doctor, to cut you off.
Yeah.
I watched a report. I think it was on the Financial Times, and it was talking about how there was a point where recently the US has sort of lost control of the semiconductor technology, like that. You've got production happening in Taiwan, you've got production in China, and so America's been put, or American companies have been put in this situation where they are reliant on Taiwanese chips. They're reliant on Chinese chips in order to manufacture, and this puts the US in a predicament whereby they aren't producing their own chips, or if something happens to the supply chain, they can't build cars, they can't make computers. And so, in light of this, what does this mean for the US? Is the US going to focus and invest more in producing its own semiconductor technology and manufacturing within the United States?
Well, look, America never lost its semiconductor industry. There are many companies in America like Qualcomm, like Intel, like NVIDIA. They are very much into the tiny little nanoscale semiconductor industry. So they never lost that. But I think the rhetoric about this in the Financial Times and in other places is about setting up a stage for the next 4 years for creating conflicts or base for conflicts so that we will push China to come to the table to talk, to discuss with us. So in reality, America never lost that industry. And the industry which is in Taiwan, and there was a big report during the Trump administration when they talked about Taiwan stopped selling China these tiny little chips because this is Taiwan is America currently. Taiwan is not a free state. So whatever is in Taiwan is in America. So America does not think that, oh, we let Taiwan be very heavily involved in semiconductor technology. That means America lost it. In fact, no, America expanded its sphere to Taiwan because it wants Taiwan to be at the level where it can compete with China, or it can replace it as in the supply chain. Now, can China tolerate tariffs on semiconductor technology if they are selling some of the chips to America? I think they will be hurt a lot. Remember, China, the largest percentage-wise customer for Chinese goods is America. That's number one. Number two, many of the factories in China, they are owned by public companies which are traded on the stock market, which means their capital is stocks, and the majority or the largest percentage of shareholders in terms of shares, not in terms of numbers, are Americans, from American billionaires. And the other day there was a big report on the top 10 American companies who have in the stock markets worldwide the largest possible shares, and that include China. So China is not at a position to really stand against the United States, and it doesn't want to. America, the last thing it wants is to find itself face to face with the United States. They breathed heavily, or I mean very lightly, when Biden came and stopped the previous Trump administration. Although Biden did not lower the tariffs on Chinese goods, he in fact increased some of them, but he did not use that as a rhetoric to engage China in a political global game, as Trump did. And he went to Russia to play it with Russia. So Biden selected to go, let's go and deal with Russia one more time rather than China. So this is a complex type of political struggle where, like George Friedman, one of the top elites in the Foreign Affairs Council, or consultant to the Foreign Affairs Council, one of the interface, one of the faces of the deep states in the U.S., he was saying that, look, sometimes you have a very friendly enemy, enemy who is friendly, or an enemy friend, or a friend who is antagonistic. So he was looking at Europe. These are antagonistic friends. These are friends, but we are actually in conflict with them. And an enemy like China or Russia, this is enemy, but we deal with them in a soft, friendly manner. So this is the two opposing things: an enemy friend or a friendly enemy, and that is what America actually plays at the global level. and we distinguish between global and regional level. At the global level, that's what America does.
I think some observers have described this as like a semiconductor race. So it's like a competition between nations. So the US, for example, just recently, I think, has poured billions of dollars into like its research and technology in its companies in order to further develop semiconductor technology. Again, they're talking about even like how you were saying that they're getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yep.
Maybe there's
Please.
another framework that's going to be even better. And so you spoke about how everything or there's like an international architecture in place. Taiwan is part of it, China's part of it, and the US has, from listening to you, has created an ecosystem whereby they can access this technology, get other countries to manufacture it. Now, does this pose, like being so reliant on, the manufacturing of other nations, does it pose a threat to your own industries, like in terms of accessing technology when something happens, like a crisis like COVID? And what does that tell us about how important it is for a state to have technological independence, like to be a technologically independent state that is not reliant on other states?
Well, number one, a state that needs to be independent uh, in technology, which leads to independence in ideology also, because that's how these interface. Number one, you need the know-how, the knowledge. You need the know-how of people who know how to do things, engineers, scientists, researchers, people who work in the field. You need this knowledge to be compiled and to be organized and to be well directed. Number one. Number two, you need the ability. You need the ability to manufacture the tools that you are going to use them for the production. Let's say if I want to produce chips today, I can go to Taiwan and buy a chip printer, of course, with some licenses, since whether I will take it to America or to Jordan or to Saudi Arabia or wherever. So if that is not a strategic, so I can buy the printer and I can build my factory and start building chips and then put them into companies. But the idea is to be able to produce these printers themselves. What does it take to produce them? What type of machinery? Which we mean by that the foundation of technology are the tools that make the tools, factories that make the factories. Today, the majority of factories that make factories are under the control of America, either directly or indirectly through companies where their stocks are bought and purchased in the open market by top American billionaires. So in order to be technologically independent and to be able to build an industrial base, you must have the ability to build the machines that make the machines. You must have the knowledge of the people, and then you must compile this knowledge into a manner that it can produce. Uh, Unfortunately, these two things, compilation of knowledge, compilation of knowledge means compilation of the people who know. Today, after so many years or decades of making the world very difficult to live in unless you migrate to either US or to some of the European countries. So the knowledge, the real knowledge of the world at large has been compiled one way or another in the West. Look at the engineers and physicians and scientists from Pakistan, from India, from China itself. The majority, most of them are in the US, in the Middle East, from Egypt, Palestine, Morocco, Algeria, Jordan, Syria, Turkey. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of them. They are wandering in the streets of New York, California, Texas, Dallas, all of these places where these are the technology hubs in the world. So the compilation of knowledge in the last probably 70 years had been streaming from east to west, just like wealth going from east to west. And the products are coming back from west to east. Now, China, as I mentioned, was an exception. There was time back in the end of 90s where Chinese engineers started going back to China. Why or how did this happen? Because America and China agreed to establish a capitalist-like type of economy in China where some of the top engineers can be paid very high salaries, and where people can reinvest their money in the same companies they work at, which has never happened in China. But that was on purpose. Today, now the question is, would it be possible that the Chinese professors and engineers will flow back into the US? I would not bet that this will not happen, but it can happen. The moment, if you remember probably, or some people, when the Asian Tigers companies, they were crashed down with the help of some of the top billionaires in America, the so-called those who have bargains on the street. They bargained on their stocks. Within 48 hours, they crashed those economies in top countries like in Indonesia, Malaysia, Korea, and so they called them the Asian Tigers at the time. And they thought that they can grow as much as they want, as fast as they want, and then they can compete. But once you...
This was the Asian economic crisis, 96, was it? I think
it was around 96 or maybe late 8. Yeah, I think it was 96. Yeah. The crash, what's called the crash of the Asian Tigers. I think there were about 6 or 7 top countries whose economy was growing at a very high rate. And then because their companies, their economy was facilitated by the stock-based companies or stock-based financials. So these people, they came into the, I think, Hong Kong or whatever market, financial markets. They bargained on these top companies. Eventually, they were able to bring them down to their knees. And then they started growing again, but now at much slower rate. Now they understand that be careful, don't scare out or don't provoke the big tiger in the backyard, because he can eat you all. And today as we speak, if you look at the Chinese top markets, top industries like Huawei, which is very big, and look at the stock market and go and search or ask questions, who are the top investors in Huawei? You will find like Buffett, like the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the top banking system in the world, which are Americans. And that's why at any point of time they want to crash that, they can just pull out their stocks from that market. Today, America had built a global economy that can be crashed in a second, even inside America itself. But inside America, it crashes because of the zeal within America, because of the greed within the capitalists. But outside, they can be crashed by invention. They can crash the economy of countries.
Yeah, I mean, look, when I'm reading these reports on, how reliant the US is on, or how it's developed this ecosystem whereby it's really dependent on foreign on these foreign companies to develop their technology. It's interesting for me because it's we sort of paint the picture of the US being this almost invincible power, right? That it's developed this international architecture, and we can see its effects in the Middle East. We can also see it in its economic relations with other powers like China, and in the production of different industries, how it seeks to lead in things like semiconductor industry and technologies. But something like a global pandemic, it sort of highlighted to me that the nature um, of these empires are in fact quite fragile. And I wanted to know your thoughts about that, because there is also talk about, you spoke about how the capitalist system, this is the way it operates. It's able to sort of crush, nations at its behest when it sees fit. Um, you know, do you see the US as a waning empire, just like the Romans in the past?
Well, it is a waning empire for many reasons. One of them is they are going against their own ideas. Remember, nations or empires, they flourish on ideas rather than technology. Technology is a result of ideas and thoughts. America started its path in the world to become a super state by employing certain ideas and following exactly what these ideas are. For example, their main thrust was the separation of church and state and the freedom of speech, which means, and the freedom of speech, uh, it provides a back end or a bed for ideas to grow uh, without any restriction. When uh, when the people, they feel the absolute freedom in their minds, then their mind can produce what the best it can be produced. Recently, uh, and by the way, there was a time when America debated question: what comes first? What comes first, freedom or security? And this was a big debate at the rise of America, until one of the uh, prominent presidents, I think it was Jefferson, if I'm not mistaken, back in the late 18th century, he had a very famous speech where he mentioned that, look, if you if you allow your freedom to be the back end of your system, then that freedom will guarantee the security and guarantee everything else. But if you allow security to be at the back end of the system, or the base, then you will lose security and the freedom. You will lose both. Now, recently, America had debated this question again, especially at the time of Bush the son, the second Bush, where they passed the Patriot Law, where the Patriot Law states specifically that there are some cases where you can be charged in a court of law without having the right to defend yourself with a lawyer, which means you no longer have the freedom of protecting yourself. So they started preferring security over freedom. And when we saw at the last days of Trump in his previous administration, where the militias were supported by guns and by people in order to go to the place which is the Congress, to attack the Congress, which was the source of that idea, the protection of freedom. So in other words, America is going against its own ideological base. And if you go against your ideological base, you will have to see crash. There is no question about that. And in synonym manner, the Islamic State, the Islamic power, people call it empire, but we call it the big Islamic system, lost its zeal and its power and its existence once the base of the Islamic thought, the purity of the Islamic thought was twisted or was mangled with or was no longer preserved. Then eventually the state and the civilization collapsed. So that's number one. Number two, the very idea of freedom itself, which was the reason for the growth of the power of America and the power of the West, internally, it carries the seeds of its own destruction. Like during the crash of 2008, 2009, Carter, who passed away a few days ago at age of 100, he wrote a very long article. I think it went into a book at some point, where he said, greed has become an integral part of our ideology and our life, and the greed will always cause destruction. Now, greed comes out of what's called the freedom. I'm free to look for the acquisition of anything that I can acquire, which means acquisition of money for the sake of money, not for the sake of using it for some whatever reasons. That's the essence of greed. And that greed today is allowing the financial power of America to be at least 4 or 5 times more than the economic power, which means for every car that we sell for $10,000, we have $40,000 on top of that car. In other words, our greed and our what's called freedom of ownership, I'm free to own whatever I want, we allowed our system, and actually they created a system where the money can grow at a rate much, much higher than the economy. And today, America itself is the largest mogul that has extremely large amounts and sums of money, which does not have equivalent products. So that's when you mention the word pandemic, or pandemic means at the time when you cannot find the resources. You have the money, you have the banks, you have in your bank $1 million, but you don't have goods worth of $1 million, because pandemics and the crisis may impede your ability or disable you from producing goods or moving them, like in shipment. You can produce potatoes in let's say North Carolina or in Dakota, but trucks cannot move from North Dakota all the way to Texas where they need the potatoes. You can produce oil in the Middle East, but you cannot ship them because shipment will freeze with this supply chain, which means you have the money, you can buy it, but you cannot get it. That's what we mean by the difference between the illusion, the fact that you have too much money, it means that you can survive all the time. That is not true. So any financial crisis that comes into America or into the world anytime soon, and there are indicators, I think we should have a complete podcast on this one. There is a bubble, they call it the economic or financial bubble, which has to explode. It's coming up very soon. And this bubble is at least 2 times larger and greater than the bubble that led to the 2008 crash, which began in 1999, 2000. The .NET bubble started growing. Then there are some crises that happened. War 2001, September 11, then the war in Afghanistan, in Iraq, etc. All of this accumulated, so the bubble exploded in 2008. Today we have a bubble that is in the making. So that this one, I think it's not wise to discuss this in complete detail. Maybe we'll have this on another podcast. What causes the bubble to exist? What causes to explode? How America can delay the explosion of a bubble but cannot avoid it altogether, and that's coming
Okay,
up.
yeah. I think that's a great idea for to explore the upcoming financial bubble. And I think in previous podcasts, you've said that in other podcasts, not in Narrative House podcast, but you've mentioned that the nature of capitalism is that there's always going to be, this boom and bust. There's always going to be these bubbles that are produced, and they cause, a significant amount of destruction, whilst, funnily enough, whilst enriching the 1%. They keep getting richer out of it. But this is definitely a great idea for another podcast. But I think with that, inshallah, we will end the podcast. Thank you very much, Jazakallah khairan, Doctor, for your time. I know you're a very busy person, and we do appreciate your time and your insights, your political insights into what's happening around the world, and in helping us understand and navigate through current events and what's happening around the world. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you, brother. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much for joining us in Narrative House. We hope to see you in the next episode, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum
Inshallah.
wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Salam.